The sheriff's hand was on my shoulder, and all I could think about was how badly I'd fucked up. Not because I was standing in the middle of Miller's Gas and Go at 2 in the morning with a bloody nose and Shane Hutchins glaring at me from across the fluorescent-lit store. Not because half the town would hear about this by sunrise. But because when Deputy Chen asked me point-blank why Shane had punched me, the lie came out before I could stop it. Because I told him I loved him. Shane's face went white, then red, then white again. The truth was so much simpler and so much stupider. Shane had punched me because I'd made a joke about his truck, the same kind of joke I'd been making for 10 years, but his dad had just died 3 weeks ago and I'd somehow forgotten that the truck was the last thing his old man had given him. I deserved the punch. I deserved his anger. What I didn't deserve was the way his eyes looked now, trapped, terrified, like I'd just shoved him into a cage and thrown away the key. Deputy Chen wrote something down in his notepad. Shane opened his mouth, then closed it. Opened it again, nothing came out, and in that terrible silence I realized what I'd done. In Gideon, Texas, population 3,847, where the church parking lot was fuller than the Walmart on Sundays, where my own aunt had been run out of town for divorcing her husband, where gay was still a word people whispered like a curse, I just told the law that Shane Hutchins, all-state quarterback raised on a cattle ranch, Confederate flag in his room. Shane Hutchins was the kind of boy who inspired love confessions from other boys. "That true, son?" Deputy Chen asked Shane, his pen hovering over the page. Shane's jaw worked. His hands were shaking. He looked at me with something that might have been betrayal or might have been pure panic, and I knew I had about 3 seconds to take it back before I destroyed him. "No," Shane said, his voice rough. "It's true, he said it, that's why I hit him." My heart stopped. Deputy Chen looked between us, his weathered face unreadable. Miller, the gas station owner, stood behind the counter with his arms crossed, watching like this was Friday night entertainment. 2 other guys from our high school graduated last year just like us, lingered by the beer coolers, their phones probably already out. "You boys need to take this somewhere else," Deputy Chen finally said. "Shane, you're coming with me. Your mama doesn't need to hear your brawling in parking lots at this hour. Finn, go home, get some ice on that nose." Shane walked out without looking at me. His truck, that goddamn truck, sat in the parking lot, pristine and gleaming even under the sickly yellow lights. Deputy Chen's cruiser pulled away with Shane in the passenger seat, not the back. Small mercy. I stood there alone, blood drying on my upper lip, and tried to figure out how to undo what I'd just done. But the damage was already spreading. I could feel it, like cracks in ice, spiderwebbing out from this moment into every corner of our lives. My phone buzzed, a text from my sister. "Did you really tell Shane Hutchins you're in love with him?" Becca Miller just posted about it. And there it was, 20 minutes. That's all it took for a lie to become truth in a town like this. I need you to understand what Shane was to me before that night, before the lie, before everything went to hell. Shane Hutchins had been my best friend since the 3rd grade, when he'd bloodied Kyle Patterson's nose for calling me book boy and shoving my face into the water fountain. Shane was smaller than Kyle back then, skinnier, but he'd had this look in his eyes like he'd fight God himself if God was being unfair. Kyle never bothered me again. Shane and I had been inseparable ever since. We grew up on opposite sides of the same dirt road. His family had the ranch, 200 acres of cattle and hay and more work than any 3 people could handle. My family had the garage, Miller Auto Repair, owned by my dad, where I'd spent every summer since I was 12 learning the difference between a torque wrench and a socket set. Shane was everything I wasn't. Broad-shouldered and sun-browned, with hands that knew how to rope cattle and fix fences and throw a football 60 yards with perfect spiral. He was loud and easy, the kind of guy who could walk into any room and belong there. Everyone loved Shane. Guys wanted to be him. Girls wanted to be with him. Even the teachers let him get away with murder because he'd flash that crooked smile and they'd forget why they were mad. I was quieter, taller but lankier, dark hair that never sat right, glasses I was always pushing up my nose, a tendency to think too much about everything. I liked engines because they made sense. I liked books because they let me disappear. I liked Shane because, well, that was complicated. We'd done everything together. Learned to drive in his dad's old Ford. Failed algebra twice, once each. Spent every Friday night for 4 years under the stadium lights, him playing quarterback, me in the stands. We'd applied to the same colleges, got rejected from the same colleges, ended up staying in Gideon like everyone else. We worked together now. Shane at his family ranch, me at the garage. Most evenings after we'd both clocked out, we'd meet at the gas station or the diner or sometimes just drive out to the creek and sit on the tailgate of his truck talking about nothing. About everything. About getting out of this town someday, even though we both knew we probably never would. That's what we'd been doing the night I ruined everything. Sitting at the creek passing a Dr. Pepper back and forth talking about Shane's dad. Frank Hutchins had died 3 weeks earlier, heart attack while mending fence line, dropped dead in the grass, gone before the ambulance even got there. Shane had found him. He didn't cry, hadn't cried once as far as I knew, just went quiet, worked harder, came out to the creek more often. "Mama wants to sell the ranch," he'd said that night, his voice flat, "says it's too much for just us." "What do you want?" I'd asked. He'd looked at me then, really looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I couldn't name, something raw. "I want to stop feeling like I'm drowning." I hadn't known what to say to that, so I'd said something stupid instead, made a joke about his truck, about how it was the only thing he loved more than football, trying to lighten the mood, trying to help. He'd punched me. And when the sheriff asked why, I'd panicked, said the first thing that came to mind, the worst thing. Now, driving home with dried blood on my face and my sister's text burning in my pocket, I tried to figure out how to fix this, how to take it back. But you can't unring a bell, you can't unspill a secret, even if the secret was never real to begin with. My phone rang. "Shane," I answered before I could think better of it. "Don't you ever," his voice was shaking, "don't you ever fucking do that to me again." "Shane, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. You know what you just did, you know what people are gonna say." "I'll tell them it was a misunderstanding, I'll tell them." "It's too late," he laughed, but it wasn't a laugh, it was something broken. "My phone's been going off for 20 minutes straight. My mama saw it on Facebook. Facebook, Finn, do you understand? She's waiting up for me right now, probably with Pastor Jim on speed dial." Guilt crushed my chest. "I'll fix it, I'll tell everyone I lied." "And say what? That you made it up, that you lied to the police for fun? That makes you look insane and me look like a—" He stopped, breathing hard. "Just stay away from me for a while, please." The line went dead. I sat in my truck in my driveway, engine off, and stared at my house. The lights were on. My parents were waiting. My sister had probably already told them. In a few hours, my dad's customers would know. By tomorrow, the whole town would know. And Shane was trapped in a lie that would follow him forever, all because I couldn't handle seeing him hurt. All because I'd tried to protect him from one truth and shoved him into a worse one. I didn't go inside. I turned the truck back on and drove. Away from town, toward the back roads where the streetlights didn't reach and the sky opened up like a bruise. I drove until my phone stopped buzzing and my hands stopped shaking, and I'd convinced myself that somehow, someway, this would blow over. But even then, I knew better. In towns like Gideon, nothing ever blew over. It just sank deeper, like water into wood, until the rot was permanent. I didn't see Shane for 6 days. Didn't hear from him either, except for a single text on the third day: "Stop calling." I'd called 14 times. The town I saw plenty of, and the town saw me. Everywhere I went, people stared. At the grocery store, Mrs. Henderson from church literally turned her cart around when she saw me coming down the cereal aisle. At the garage, 2 of my dad's regulars canceled their appointments. My mom kept asking if I was okay with this worried look in her eyes, and my dad just stayed quiet, which was somehow worse. My sister Rosie was the only one who talked to me normally. She cornered me in the kitchen on the 4th day, arms crossed, still in her Sonic drive-in uniform. "Okay, I need the actual story," she said. "Because the version where you've been secretly in love with Shane Hutchins for 10 years is insane, but the version where you made it up to cover for him hitting you is somehow more insane." I was making a sandwich. I focused very hard on spreading mayonnaise. "There's nothing to tell." "Finn, come on, it's me." And maybe it was because I hadn't slept in 3 days, or because I was so tired of holding everything in, but I told her. All of it. The creek, the joke, the punch, the lie, how it spiraled. Rosie listened, her expression shifting from skeptical to horrified to something softer. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You're an idiot," she finally said. "I know. But like an idiot with good intentions, the worst kind." "I know." She sighed. "Shane's not doing great, by the way. Becca said he hasn't left his ranch in days. His mom's been telling people he's got the flu. The guilt twisted deeper. I tried to apologize, he won't talk to me. Yeah, well, you did kind of drop a nuclear bomb on his life. She grabbed a chip from my plate. For what it's worth, I don't think half the town actually believes it. Everyone knows Shane dated like 3 girls senior year, but it doesn't matter what they believe, it matters that people are talking. She was right, that was the thing about small towns, the truth didn't matter as much as the story, and the story was too good, 2 best friends, a love confession, a fistfight, it had everything. At the garage the next day, I learned just how much people were talking. I was under a Chevy Silverado replacing the brake pads when I heard voices in the bay. Just saying, you never really know with people. That was Travis Morton, one of Shane's old teammates. Remember how close they always were. They were friends, man, that's it. Jake Rodriguez, another teammate. Shane's not, he wouldn't. I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying it's weird, and Finn Miller was always kinda, you know. I rolled out from under the truck. Both of them froze when they saw me. Kinda what? I asked, standing up. I was still holding the wrench, not threatening, just holding. Travis had the decency to look embarrassed. Hey Finn, didn't know you were here. It's my dad's garage, where else would I be? I set the wrench down carefully. Say what you were gonna say. Nothing, man, You were just spreading bullshit. The anger surprised me. I wasn't usually an angry person, but something about hearing them talk about Shane like that, like he was something to be figured out, dissected, judged, it made my blood hot. You've known Shane your whole life, you played football with him, you know exactly who he is. Yeah, Travis said slowly, we thought we did. And there it was, that tiny seed of doubt, that question. I'd planted it with my stupid lie, and now it was growing, roots digging into every memory anyone had of Shane Hutchins, twisting them, changing them. Get out, I said. Finn. Get out of my garage, now. They left. I stood there shaking, grease-stained and furious, and I knew I couldn't let this keep going. I had to do something. I had to fix it, even if Shane never forgave me. So that night, I did the stupidest possible thing. I went to see Pastor Jim. Gideon Community Church sat on the corner of Main and Oak, a white building with a tall steeple and stained glass windows that had been there since before my grandparents were born. Pastor Jim had been there almost as long. He was 60-something, silver-haired with a kind face that hid a spine made of iron. He'd buried my grandmother. He'd married my parents. He'd baptized me when I was 8 years old, dunking me in the creek while half the town watched. I found him in his office going through papers. He looked up when I knocked and his expression didn't change, didn't harden, didn't soften, just stayed neutral. Finn, he said, come in. I sat in the chair across from his desk. The office smelled like old books and lemon pledge. There was a painting of Jesus on the wall, the one where he's knocking on a door, waiting to be let in. I imagine you know why I'm here, I said. I have an idea, he set down his pen. Do you want to talk about it? And here was the moment. I could tell him the truth, could explain the whole messy situation, could try to convince him to help me undo the damage, but looking at him, at his patient, weathered face, I realized it wouldn't matter. The lie was better than the truth, at least in his eyes. Better that I'd confessed feelings than that Shane had punched me over a truck. One made me sympathetic, the other made Shane violent. So I lied again, but this time I lied smarter. It wasn't supposed to come out like that, I said quietly. I never meant to tell anyone, especially not Shane, It happened, and now everything's a mess and I don't know how to fix it. Pastor Jim leaned back in his chair. Do you want to fix it, or do you want to fix yourself? I don't understand. What you're feeling, these attractions, they're not uncommon, especially in young men, but acting on them, indulging them, that's a choice that leads away from God's plan. I'd expected this, I'd grown up in this church, I knew the script, but hearing it directed at me personally was different. It felt like being pressed underwater. I'm not asking you to fix me, I said. I'm asking you to help Shane. People are talking about him, saying things that aren't fair. He doesn't deserve this. What does Shane say? He won't talk to me. And whose fault is that? The words hit like a slap, fair but brutal. Pastor Jim sighed. Finn, I understand you're trying to protect your friend, but you can't control what people say. You can only control your own actions, your own heart, and right now your heart is leading you down a difficult path. Because I care about Shane. Because you care about him in a way that goes against God's design. I stood up. Shane is the best person I know. He's good and he's kind and he's never hurt anyone on purpose in his life. If caring about him is wrong, then I don't want to be right. I left before he could respond, left before I could hear whatever Bible verse he'd pull out to justify his prejudice. I was shaking again, but this time it was different. This time it wasn't fear or guilt. It was anger, and underneath the anger something else, something I'd been pushing down for a long time. Because here's the thing I hadn't admitted to anyone, not even myself. The lie I'd told wasn't entirely a lie. I went back to the creek that night, our spot where Shane's truck had left tire tracks in the dirt and we'd worn down the grass from sitting on the tailgate so many times. The water moved slow and dark, catching moonlight. Crickets sang. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. I sat on the bank and tried to remember exactly when it had started. When Shane had gone from being just my best friend to being something more in my head, something I couldn't name, didn't want to name. Maybe it was sophomore year when he'd gotten a girlfriend, Cassidy Reed, with her blonde hair and perfect smile, and I'd felt sick every time I saw them together. I'd told myself it was because I was jealous that he was spending less time with me. That was normal, right? Friends got jealous. Or maybe it was junior year during the championship game when he'd taken a hit that left him limping. I'd helped him to the locker room, his arm over my shoulders, his weight against me, and my heart had been pounding so hard I'd been sure he could hear it. That was just adrenaline, just concern, normal. Or maybe it was senior year, graduation night, when we'd driven out here and he'd fallen asleep against my shoulder and I'd stayed perfectly still for 2 hours because I didn't want him to move. That was just being a good friend, letting him rest. Or maybe it was last summer when he'd taught me to swim in this very creek because I'd somehow made it to 18 without learning. He'd been patient, laughing when I panicked, his hands on my shoulders saying, "I've got you, you're not gonna drown." And I'd believed him. I'd felt safer with him than I'd ever felt anywhere. Or maybe it had always been there, since 3rd grade, since the bloody nose and the water fountain and the look in his eyes that said he'd fight for me. Maybe I'd been carrying this feeling for 10 years and just hadn't had the words for it. Hadn't let myself acknowledge it because in a town like Gideon, in a life like mine, those feelings didn't exist, couldn't exist. But they did, and now everyone thought they knew my secret, except they didn't. They didn't know how deep it went, how long, how much it hurt to watch Shane pull away from me, to see him suffering because of something I'd said, knowing I couldn't take it back because taking it back meant admitting what I'd been hiding all along. I loved him. Not the way you love a friend, not the way you love a brother, the way you love someone you want to wake up next to, someone whose happiness matters more than your own, someone who makes you feel like maybe you're not as broken as you thought. And that terrified me more than anything else, because I knew Shane. I knew he'd grown up in the same church, heard the same sermons, absorbed the same lessons about what was right and wrong, natural and unnatural, blessed and sinful. I knew that even if impossibly, miraculously, if he felt something similar, he'd never admit it. He'd bury it, deny it, destroy himself before he'd accept it. I knew because I'd watched him do it before. Freshman year, there'd been a guy named Marcus who transferred from Austin. Artsy kid, wore eyeliner, didn't give a damn what anyone thought. Shane had been fascinated by him. I'd watched it happen, watched Shane light up when Marcus was around, watched him find excuses to talk to him, watched the way his eyes followed Marcus down the hallways. And then one day Marcus was gone, transferred back, and Shane never mentioned him again. But I remembered the way he'd been quiet for weeks after. The way he'd started dating Cassidy almost immediately. I'd understood then what I was seeing, and I'd buried it deep because acknowledging it would mean acknowledging something else, something about myself. But now it was out, not the truth but close enough, and there was no burying it again. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it, but it was after midnight and the only people who texted me this late were Rosie or Shane, where are you? My heart stopped, started again too fast. Me the creek, where are you? Shane, coming. I stood up, paced, sat back down, stood up again. 10 minutes felt like an hour. Then I heard his truck, the familiar rumble of the engine, tires on gravel, headlights cut through the trees. The engine died. Shane walked toward me, and even in the dark I could see how tired he looked, how wrecked. His hair was messier than usual, his shirt wrinkled. He stopped about 10 feet away. You went to Pastor Jim, he said. How did you? Because he came to see me and my mama had a real nice long talk about temptation and sin and how we could pray through this together. His voice was flat, empty, so thanks for that. Shane. Do you know what she said after he left? He stepped closer. She said she wanted to know if it was true, if I felt that way about you, about anyone. What did you tell her? I told her no, I told her you lied, that you made it up because you were embarrassed about getting hit. His eyes met mine, but I don't think she believed me. The guilt was crushing. I'm sorry, I was trying to help. By going to a pastor, in this town, Jesus, Finn, what were you thinking? I was thinking about you, the words burst out. I was thinking about how people are talking about you, about us, and how it's my fault and I needed to fix it. You can't fix it, it's done. He was shouting now and Shane never shouted. You can't unfuck this, Finn, it's out there, it's always gonna be out there. 10 years from now, people are still gonna remember the time Finn Miller said he loved Shane Hutchins. It's gonna be at every barbecue and every wedding and every funeral. It's gonna follow me forever. Then I'll leave, I said, the decision formed as I spoke. I'll leave town, go somewhere else, then people will forget, they'll. You can't leave, his voice cracked. You can't just, Finn, your whole life is here, your family, the garage. None of that matters if you hate me. I don't hate you, he said it so quietly I almost missed it. I hate this, I hate what's happening, but I don't hate you, I could never. He stopped, closed his eyes. That's the problem. My breath caught. What? He opened his eyes, looked at me, and in that moment I saw everything, everything he'd been hiding, everything I'd suspected but never let myself believe. The lie you told, he said slowly, it wasn't entirely a lie, was it? The world narrowed to just us, just his eyes, just the question hanging between us. No, I whispered, it wasn't. He nodded once like he'd been expecting it, like it confirmed something he'd already known. And you, I asked, my voice shaking, is it a lie when you tell people you're not, that you don't? Yes, the word dropped like a stone, it's a lie. We stood there, the truth finally naked between us. The creek kept moving, the crickets kept singing, the world kept turning, but we were frozen, two boys on the edge of something that could either save us or destroy us. How long? Shane asked. Years, maybe always, I don't know, I laughed, but it came out broken. How long for you? Same, he scrubbed a hand over his face. God, this is so messed up. We don't have to, we could just forget this conversation happened, go back to how things were. We can't, he looked at me with something like desperation. You know we can't, not after this, not after everyone already thinks. Then what do we do? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, my mama wants me to go to one of those camps, pray the gay away type thing. Pastor Jim recommended one in Louisiana. Horror washed over me. No, Shane, no, those places, they're not, you can't. What's the alternative? Stay here and watch everyone whisper, watch my mama look at me like I'm broken, watch you. He stopped. I can't do this, Finn, I can't want this. Want what? You. The word was raw, painful. I can't want you, it's wrong, everything we've been taught says it's wrong, and even if it wasn't, even if everyone was fine with it, we'd be throwing away everything, our families, this town, our lives. Then we leave, I said, both of us, we go somewhere else, somewhere where. Where what? Where people are magically okay with it, where we don't carry this shit with us? He shook his head. It doesn't work like that, you can't outrun who you are. So what, you're just gonna let them send you to some camp, let them break you? Maybe I need to be broken, his voice was barely audible. Maybe this part of me needs to be fixed. I closed the distance between us, grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me, there is nothing broken about you, nothing wrong with you, you are good, Shane, you're the best person I know, and if they can't see that, if this town can't see that, then fuck them. He stared at me, his eyes were wet. I'm scared. Me too. I don't know how to do this, how to be this. Neither do I, but we could figure it out, together. For a moment, just a moment, I thought he'd agree. I thought I'd see him make the choice, the brave one, the hard one. I thought maybe love could win against years of conditioning and fear and shame. But then he stepped back, breaking my grip. I can't, he said, I'm sorry, I can't. He walked back to his truck, got in, drove away. And I stood there alone by the creek, watching his tail lights disappear, feeling something in my chest crack clean in half. Shane left 3 days later. His mom drove him to the airport, a 4-hour drive to Dallas. I heard about it through Rosie, who heard about it from Becca, who heard about it from her mom, who worked at the church. They were saying he was going to visit family, that he needed time away after his dad's death, that the grief had been too much. I knew better. He'd texted me once before he left, "Don't wait for me, live your life." Like I could, like any part of my life made sense without him in it. The garage became my refuge. I worked 12-hour days, coming in early and staying late until my hands were perpetually covered in grease and my body ached from exhaustion. My dad didn't say much, just worked alongside me, occasionally passing me tools before I asked for them. He'd always been like that, quiet, steady, present. On the 4th day, while we were closing up, he finally spoke. "Your mama's worried about you." I was wiping down a workbench. "I'm fine." "You're not sleeping, barely eating, that's not fine." "Dad, I'm not gonna ask you about the Shane situation, that's your business." He hung up his work jacket, his movements deliberate. "But I am gonna tell you something. When your mama and I first got together, her parents didn't approve, said I wasn't good enough, wrong family, wrong prospects, wrong everything. We had to choose between them and each other." I stopped wiping. "What did you choose?" "Her, always her." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I never regretted it, not once, even when it was hard, even when her folks didn't come to our wedding, even when they didn't meet you kids until you were in school, because some things matter more than comfort, more than approval, some things you fight for. He didn't say anything else, just patted my shoulder and left, but I understood what he was telling me, and it made everything hurt worse because Shane had already made his choice, and it wasn't me. The town settled into a new normal. People stopped staring quite so much. The gossip moved on to other scandals. Someone's daughter got pregnant, someone's son got arrested for selling weed. My life became a pattern: work, home, sleep, repeat. Rosie tried to get me to go out with her friends. I always said no. What was the point? 2 weeks after Shane left, I got a package in the mail, no return address. Inside was a notebook, the one Shane always carried in his truck, where he wrote down ranch expenses and appointments, and sometimes, late at night when we were at the creek, stupid jokes and observations. I'd seen him writing in it 1,000 times. I opened it with shaking hands. Most of it was mundane stuff: feed costs, vet appointments, fence repairs, but toward the back there were pages that were different. Pages filled with his handwriting, messier than usual, like he'd been writing fast or upset. One entry was dated 2 months ago. "Finn fell asleep during the movie again, 3rd time this month. I keep picking movies I know will bore him just so he'll doze off and I can watch him without being weird about it. Is that messed up? Probably, but when he's asleep he looks peaceful, not worried, not thinking too hard about everything, just him. I wish he could see himself the way I see him." Another from a month ago. "Had the dream again, the one where we're not here, where we're somewhere else, somewhere that doesn't know us, doesn't have expectations. In the dream I can hold his hand, can tell him, can be honest. Then I wake up and remember where I am and who I'm supposed to be, getting real tired of waking up." And one from the week before he left. "He told everyone he loved me, and the fucked up thing is I wanted it to be real. I wanted him to mean it. For one stupid second before I remembered where we are and what that means, I was happy. Then reality came back and I realized he just destroyed both our lives, but I can't even be mad at him, because if someone had asked me, really asked me, I don't think I could have denied it either. I love him. God help me, I love him, but loving him means leaving. Because I'm not strong enough to stay and be what people will expect us to be. I'm not brave like him." I read that last entry 5 times, then I closed the notebook and held it against my chest and cried like I hadn't cried since my grandma died, because he loved me, and he'd left anyway, and I didn't know which hurt worse. That night I made a decision. If Shane wasn't brave enough to fight for us, then I'd be brave enough for both of us. I'd go get him, I'd bring him home, I'd figure out a way to make this work, even if it meant leaving Gideon, even if it meant starting over somewhere else. I just had to find him first. The camp was in northern Louisiana, about 6 hours from Gideon. It took me 2 days to find the name, New Horizons Ministries, and another day to confirm Shane was actually there. I called pretending to be his cousin, asking about visiting hours. The woman on the phone said they didn't allow visitors during the adjustment period, but I could send mail. I drove there on a Saturday, left at dawn, made it by noon. The place looked like a summer camp gone wrong: cabins, a main lodge, a chapel, all surrounded by pine trees and red dirt. There was a fence, but it wasn't locked. A sign at the entrance: "Finding freedom in God's truth." I parked outside the fence and tried to figure out my next move. I couldn't just walk in, they'd throw me out immediately, but I'd driven 6 hours. I wasn't leaving without seeing him. I waited, watched. Around 2, people started filtering out of the chapel in small groups. Young people, mostly guys, all wearing the same expression, tired, hollowed out, trying to look like they believed whatever they'd just been told. Then I saw him. Shane walked out last, hands in his pockets, head down. He'd lost weight. His shoulders were curved inward like he was trying to take up less space. Everything about his posture screamed defeat. I got out of the truck and walked to the fence. Shane. His head snapped up. For a second his face flooded with relief. Then it shuttered closed. He looked around quickly, then walked toward me, stopping a few feet from the fence. "What are you doing here?" His voice was harsh. "You can't be here. I needed to see you, make sure you're okay." Continue. 7 Jan. I'm fine, go home. You're not fine, look at you. Finn, please. His eyes darted back toward the buildings. If they see me talking to you, then come with me right now, we'll leave, we'll go anywhere you want. He laughed, but it was bitter. You think it's that easy, just walk away. Yes, it is, it's exactly that easy. And go where? Back to Gideon, back to the stairs and whispers and everyone knowing. Then not Gideon, somewhere else, Dallas, Austin, hell, California, somewhere that doesn't care. I care, the words burst out. I care what my mama thinks, what my family thinks, what God thinks. I can't just stop caring, Finn, that's not how it works. So you'd rather stay here, let them convince you you're broken. His jaw tightened. Maybe I am. Bullshit. You don't understand, you've always been okay with being different, being the weird kid who reads too much and thinks too much. I was never like that, I was normal, I fit. And now I don't, and I don't know how to be okay with that. Shane. The worst part, he stepped closer to the fence, close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. They're not even wrong, everything they say in there about how it's unnatural, how it's temptation, how we're supposed to fight it, part of me agrees, part of me thinks they're right, and I hate myself for that, but I also hate myself for wanting you anyway. So tell me, Finn, how do I fix that? I gripped the fence. You don't have to fix anything, you just have to choose, them or you, fear or freedom. It's not that simple. It is though, it really is. We stood there, separated by chain link and years of conditioning. Behind him, someone called his name. He flinched. I have to go, he said. Shane, wait. I got your letters, all of them. He backed away, but I can't write back, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He turned and walked back toward the buildings, and I stood there gripping that fence until my knuckles went white. He didn't look back. I drove home in a fog, got back to Gideon at midnight, went straight to the garage and worked until dawn broke. Then I went home, showered, and went back to work. Kept moving because stopping meant thinking and thinking meant feeling and feeling was unbearable. 3 weeks passed, no word from Shane. I wrote him 7 more letters, told him about the garage, about Rosie, about the weather. Stupid stuff, normal stuff, trying to give him something that felt like home. I didn't know if he was reading them, didn't know if they were letting him. Then on a Tuesday afternoon while I was rotating tires on a Honda Civic, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Finn, the voice was hoarse, shaking, it's me. Everything stopped. Shane. I need you to come get me. He was crying. Please, I can't do this anymore, I need you to come get me. I dropped the phone, picked it up. Where are you? I'm at a gas station somewhere in Louisiana, I don't know exactly where. I walked, I just kept walking until I hit a main road and found this place. Send me your location, I'm coming right now. Finn. Send it, I'm already moving. The location came through, 4 hours away. I told my dad I had an emergency, grabbed my keys and drove, broke every speed limit, made it in 3.5 hours. The gas station was small, off a county highway. I found Shane sitting on the curb by the air pump looking wrecked. His hair was too long, his clothes dirty, his eyes red from crying. When he saw my truck, he stood up. I got out, we looked at each other. Then he was moving and so was I, and we crashed together in the middle of the parking lot. He grabbed me so hard it hurt, buried his face in my shoulder and shook apart. I held him and felt him crying and thought, this is what matters, nothing else, just this. I've got you, I said, you're okay, I've got you. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, just breathe, you're out, you're safe. We stood there until he stopped shaking. until his breathing evened out. Until he could pull back and look at me with something like hope. "Take me home," he asked. "Yeah," I said, "let's go home." We didn't go straight back to Gideon. Instead, I drove us to a motel off the highway, something cheap and anonymous, the kind of place that didn't ask questions as long as you paid cash. Shane needed to rest, to eat something other than cafeteria food, to sleep somewhere that didn't feel like a cage. I got us a room with 2 beds. Shane collapsed on one immediately, still in his dirty clothes, and stared at the ceiling. I ordered pizza from a place down the road and forced him to eat. He managed 3 slices before he started talking. "They had us on a schedule," he said quietly. "Wake up at 6, chapel, counseling sessions, more chapel, group therapy where we'd talk about our struggles and everyone would pray over each other. Then this thing they called accountability partners. Basically, they'd pair you up with someone to make sure you weren't having impure thoughts. My partner was this kid from Alabama who'd cry every night." I sat on the other bed listening. The counseling was the worst part. They'd ask about when it started, who you'd been attracted to, what situations made you feel tempted. Then they'd explain how it was trauma or confusion or rebellion against God. They'd pray over you for like an hour straight, speaking in tongues, asking God to cast out the demons of homosexuality. His voice cracked. And the whole time I kept thinking, what if they're right? What if this is demons? What if I'm just broken? "You're not broken." "How do you know?" He looked at me then, his eyes hollow. "Because I don't feel fixed, Finn, I feel worse. I feel like they took everything I was and twisted it until I couldn't recognize myself." I moved to his bed, sat next to him. "Can I tell you something? Something I've been thinking about a lot." He nodded. "My dad told me once that some things matter more than comfort, more than approval, that some things you fight for." I took a breath. I used to think he was talking about my mom, about choosing her over what her parents wanted. But I think he was talking about something bigger, about choosing yourself, about deciding who you are and refusing to let anyone take that from you. That's easy to say when you're already out, already okay with it. I'm not though, not really. The admission surprised me. I'm scared all the time, scared of what people think, what my family thinks, whether I'll ever be normal enough to fit anywhere. But I'm more scared of becoming someone I'm not just to make other people comfortable, and that's what they were trying to do to you. They were trying to make you into someone you're not. He was quiet for a long time. "Then, when you told everyone you loved me at the gas station, was it real, or were you just covering for me?" "Both," I said honestly. "I was covering for you, but the words were real." "How long have you known about yourself?" "Years, maybe always, but I only admitted it to myself recently, after that night at the creek." I looked at him. "What about you?" "Since Marcus transferred freshman year," he smiled slightly. "You remember him?" "Yeah, I remember watching you watch him." "You saw that?" "Everyone saw it, Shane. You weren't exactly subtle." He groaned. "God, and I thought I was hiding it." "You were hiding it from yourself, not from anyone else." We sat there in the quiet of the motel room with the highway sounds outside and the TV playing static. Everything felt both monumental and ordinary, just 2 guys sitting on a bed, talking about things we'd never said out loud before. "I don't know how to go back," Shane said eventually. "Back to Gideon, back to my mama. How do I face her?" "Honestly," I said, "you tell her the truth, or as much of it as you can handle telling. And if she doesn't accept it, then you make a choice, her or you. That's what you did, isn't it? Made a choice." "Yeah, I chose you, even when you weren't choosing yourself." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something shifted in his expression, something soft and terrified and hopeful all at once. "Finn, we don't have to figure everything out tonight," I said quickly, because I could see where this was going and I knew we weren't ready. "Let's just take it slow, one thing at a time." He nodded, relieved I think. We ordered more food, watched bad TV. Around midnight he fell asleep and I sat on my bed watching him breathe, thinking about how fragile this all was, how easily it could fall apart. But also how, for the first time in weeks, something felt right. We got back to Gideon the next afternoon. Shane was quiet the whole drive, staring out the window, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. As we hit the town limits, he finally spoke. "Drop me at the ranch, I need to do this alone." "You sure?" "No, but I need to anyway." I pulled up to his driveway. His mom's car was there, so was Pastor Jim's. My stomach sank. "They're waiting for me," Shane said, seeing what I saw. "Want me to come with you?" He almost said yes. I could see it in the way his hand moved toward mine, then stopped. "I need to do this myself, but He looked at me. Don't go far, okay? I'll be at the garage. Call me if you need me. He got out, walked toward the house. I watched until he disappeared inside, then drove to the garage and tried to focus on work. Impossible. Every car I touched, every bolt I turned, my mind was at that ranch, wondering what was being said, whether he was okay, whether this was the moment everything fell apart for good. 2 hours later he called, "Can you come get me? Be there in 5." When I pulled up, Shane was sitting on the porch steps with a duffel bag. His mom stood in the doorway, arms crossed. She wouldn't look at me. Shane got in the truck without a word. I drove. "What happened?" I asked when we were clear of the house. "She said I had to choose the ranch or this." He gestured vaguely at himself. "My family or you." Pastor Jim said the same thing, that I could come back when I was ready to live right. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." He leaned his head against the window. "I chose, for the first time in my life, I actually chose what I wanted instead of what I was supposed to want. And it feels, God, Finn, it feels like I can finally breathe." "Where do you want to go?" "I don't know, anywhere that's not here." We drove away from Gideon toward the highway. We made it about 20 miles before Shane asked me to pull over. I did, pulling onto the shoulder. He got out and I followed. We stood by the side of the road watching the sun set over the fields. "I don't know how to do this," he said. "I don't know how to be this person." "Neither do I." "But you're not scared." "I'm terrified," I admitted. "I'm scared we're gonna mess this up, that we're gonna hurt each other, that I'm gonna lose you." I turned to face him.